I know some of your faces, so I'll embarrass you if you don't pay attention to me. Just don't sit down. Welcome, everyone. My name is Marlon Forbes, and I'm the Borough Director from Bronx Community Operations. Just so we're all clear, we are at the annual town hall meeting for the Bronx for NYCHA. We're about to begin, but before we begin the meeting, I would like to acknowledge two gentlemen. The first, who is about to sit down, is John Johnson. He is the chairperson for the Bronx South District Council of Presidents. Mr. Johnson, please raise your hand. And I would like to acknowledge Robert Hall, who is the resident leader for Gun Hill Houses. Welcome, gentlemen. Before we get into the meeting, I would like to inform you of the following. We have interpreters in Spanish, Chinese, and Russian. They are going to come up now and introduce themselves and explain that we have wireless interpretation equipment that will enable you to hear the presentation simultaneously in Spanish, Chinese, and Russian.
Buenas tardes. Tenemos equipo técnico para escuchar la presentación en español. Si necesita escuchar la presentación en español, puede visitar nuestra mesa en la entrada. Gracias.
Добрый вечер. Если вам нужен перевод этой презентации на русский язык, обратитесь, пожалуйста, к столу переводчиков, который находится в вестибюле. Спасибо.
各位晚上好，我们今天晚上会为大家提供中文的翻译服务。如果有需要的话，可以到礼堂外面的桌子领取这个耳机，收听简报会。谢谢。
We also have sign language interpreters who will be signing during the presentation. The interpreters, I don't see you. If you could just raise your hand. We hope as many people as possible will have an opportunity to express their comments. So before we begin, let's go over the following ground rules. If you have a particular personal issue pertaining to your apartment, we have property management staff available right outside to address your concerns. Resource tables have been set up with the information so that at the end of the meeting, you can pick up information on issues or subjects which may be of interest to you. Subjects may include, but are not limited to, resident economic empowerment and sustainability, or our REACE department, fair housing, family services, citywide programs, etc. In accordance with Section 5 of the United States Housing Act of 1937, as amended, housing authorities are required to develop, with review and input from residents and the general public, an annual plan that outlines its priorities for the upcoming year. As mandated, NYCHA has developed a draft agency plan for fiscal year 2016 and a significant amendment to the fiscal year 2015 annual plan. In order to facilitate comments, the authority is holding 5 town hall meetings during the month of July. Every household should have received a robocall informing them of the town hall meetings and the public hearing. Flyers were also posted in every building, senior and community center, and management office. Flyers were also translated into Spanish, Chinese, and Russian. The fiscal year 2016 draft plan and a significant amendment to the fiscal year 2015 plan were made available on June 26, 2015 for public inspection at NYCHA's principal office at 250 Broadway and on NYCHA's website. Copies were also made available at Public Housing Development's management offices, at all community operations and management and leased housing borough offices, and at 5 designated community centers. The draft plan and a significant amendment to the annual plan, so the fiscal year 2015 plan, are also being sent out to all Resident Advisory Board or RAB delegates and alternates, to each TA president, and to Section 8 RAB representatives. In addition, NYCHA encourages residents, advocates, and the public to provide written comments on the draft plan for fiscal year 2016 and a significant amendment to the fiscal year 2015 plan. The comments will be accepted via fax, through the mail, and collected at each of the town hall meetings. In an attempt to accurately reflect NYCHA's critical priorities and needs, the draft plan and significant amendment is an evolving document. The purpose of this town hall meeting today is to provide a venue where residents and the public are invited to comment on the draft plan and the significant amendment. I'm going to repeat that purpose. The purpose of this town hall meeting today is to provide a venue where residents and the public are invited to comment on the draft plan and the significant amendment. NYCHA staff will make brief presentations on the topics listed below on the screen. There will be an open mic for questions and comments. Please complete a speaker slip if you would like to make a comment on the plan or have questions. My colleague is holding up a sample of a speaker slip. Thank you, Ms. Price. Okay. Moving forward, I would like to introduce Anne-Marie Flatley, who will discuss the next topic, which is Next Gen NYCHA. Ms. Flatley.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's a beautiful summer night, so I appreciate everybody coming out to talk about the annual plan. Again, my name is Anne-Marie Flatley, and I'm the VP for Research and Management Analysis here at NYCHA. So Next Gen NYCHA. What vision, what aspiration is driving Next Generation NYCHA? The one that we all have for our homes, all New Yorkers alike: safe, clean, and connected communities. Go to the next slide. When Chair Olatoye was first appointed by Mayor de Blasio, he gave her two tasks. One, reset the relationship with NYCHA residents, employees, and other key stakeholders. And two, create a plan to ensure that the preservation of NYCHA for the next generation of New Yorkers. We must fundamentally change our model in order to preserve this resource for public housing going forward. Our aging buildings are in need of repair. We have significantly reduced funding from the federal government, both for repairs, supplies, and renovations. We have a large senior population that's aging in place. Over 37% of our heads of household are now age 62 and over. And there are low-income families in the city that are also in need of affordable housing. So we're here today to share with you our plan for Next Generation NYCHA. In terms of our financial situation, we have huge capital needs, over $16 billion over the next 5 years, and we're only funded for about 10% of that need. Our finance department will present information also on our budget, and for this year we're looking at about a $98 million deficit that needs to be closed. So this all creates, conditions that you hear about from residents, that you yourselves are experiencing, that you read about in the newspapers, and so forth. So this isn't a problem that happened overnight. This has been happening actually since about 2000, when the federal government started seriously cutting our funding. So over the past 10 years, we've lost about $1 billion that we should have received from them. So this plan is an effort to outline the strategies that we feel will help preserve NYCHA for the next generation of New Yorkers. So the 4 goals going forward: fund, achieve short-term financial stability, and diversify funding for the long term. So that's looking at different ways to increase revenues. So we're looking at activating more of our commercial spaces to, have more retail stores in our developments to provide both commercial and retail services, as well as provide jobs for residents. Operate, be an efficient and effective landlord. My colleague Melania Allen will talk about a new model that we have that's actually up here in the Bronx as well as Brooklyn, the OpMom, or Optimizing Property Management Operating Model. Rebuild, expand, and preserve public and affordable housing. Bill Crawley will next speak about the sites we're looking at for Next Gen NYCHA to build 100% affordable housing, as well as some interesting and development opportunities right here in the Betances area. And in terms of engaging, we need to develop sustainable resident services and engagement models going forward. So at this point, I'd like to, almost forgot this most important slide. So we'd like to do a call for action. We ask you to sign up to be a part of NYCHA's Next Generation focus groups. We want to hear from our residents. So please, see one of our resident engagement representatives outside at the resource table, attend your local police service area meetings, talk to your property manager, and sign up for NYCHA alerts online to learn about events that are going on in your development, as well as NYCHA overall. And, read the NYCHA Journal, as well as subscribe to NYCHA on Twitter, as well as Facebook, to learn more about the events and more ways to become involved. So at this point, oh, sorry, Marlon?
So I'm about to introduce William Crawley, who is going to talk about plans for development. Before I do, I just want to acknowledge Anthony Jordan, who is the advisor for community affairs for the office of Congressman Jose Serrano, Jose E. Serrano. Mr. Jordan, are you here? Thank you. Mr. Crawley?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening. My name is William Crawley. I'm Vice President for Development at the New York City Housing Authority. What I'd like to do with the time that I have today is to give you an update on our development program, which we're doing in concert with NYCHA residents, resident leaders, stakeholders in the community at a number of sites. The first 3 sites are at Ingersoll Development in downtown Brooklyn, Millbrook in the Bronx, and Van Dyke in the Brownsville section of Brooklyn. At each of those sites, NYCHA will work with developers to build 100% affordable housing, which will be based on the NYCHA developments themselves. This will expand the resources for affordable housing for NYCHA residents, but also for all New Yorkers. NYCHA just released an RFP a few weeks ago that outlined the programs for those developments. There'll be a focus on providing community space, 100% affordable rents, quality housing that will have quality design and be reintegrated into the NYCHA development and work seamlessly into the NYCHA campuses. Once selected, NYCHA will negotiate with selected developers to obtain a share of the developer fee, which is the portion of revenues that are generated at the sites. NYCHA residents will also have the opportunity to apply for the units in the new buildings through a HUD-regulated lottery. So again, we have 3 sites that are in the next generation NYCHA plan and are before you this evening. Ingersoll, downtown Brooklyn, which will be approximately 125 senior units. Millbrook, which is here in the Bronx, approximately 125 senior units. And Van Dyke in Brooklyn, which will be family housing, approximately 220 units, all 100% affordable housing. Next, I'd like to update you on the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, which is a mouthful. It's a program that started in a HUD-mandated program that NYCHA is participating in. It's designed to find a way for housing authorities to leverage debt and equity to invest in its building stock. Debt from conventional lending sources, equity from a program called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program, which is a program of the federal government that allows for investors to place equity into affordable housing developments. At Ocean Bay, there'll be many benefits from the proposed development. One, the ability to rehabilitate the developments in our aging portfolio, which we all know about. 2, it'll call for the conversion of public housing subsidy to long-term Section 8 contracts that will provide stable federal funding. The Section 8 program, which you might be familiar with, is a federal HUD program where the HUD allocates a contract to a developer or an owner to pay for the costs of operating the building, and residents or Section 8 housing voucher holders are allowed to have a contract that pays their rent and it caps the amount of rent that they have to pay, but it allows for a federal stable funding stream to go to the developments that we can then leverage to invest more capitals in the development. The RAD project out at Ocean Bay, which is in the Rockaways, will ensure permanent affordability for the development, and there'll be continued Tenant Protection Association funding as part of it. The goals of the program, as I mentioned before, is to safeguard long-term housing assistance, to modernize the properties, and to stabilize the development so that it will be on solid financial footing going forward. So we're working right now with resident leaders and other stakeholders in the Ocean Bay area. We held a town hall meeting about a month ago, I recall. Is that right? We're about a month ago. We had a full house of residents that came out. So we're going to have robust, ongoing resident engagement for the entire process. So that's the RAD project at Ocean Bay. The next project that I'd like to give you an overview of is the Make Mott Haven Great project. This Make Mott Haven Great project, Make Mott Haven, is a neighborhood revitalization plan developed by residents, community stakeholders, city agencies, and the authorities. Some of you who are in this room perhaps played a role in Make Mott Haven Great. It's essentially the CNI, Choice Neighborhoods Initiative, that the Housing Authority has been working on over the last several years. So the planned scope for that project included redeveloping a commercial property for a residential building, ground floor retail at Willis Avenue and East 146th Street, and the rehabilitation of resident buildings along East 146th Street. Basically, there are three goals in the program. One, in terms of housing, our goal is to rehabilitate the distressed public and assisted housing by creating high-quality, mixed-income housing that will be well-managed, safe, clean, and connected. The same goals for Next Gen NYCHA. In terms of the people are a major part of the program. Our goal there is to improve educational outcomes and intergenerational mobility for youth with services and programs. A great deal of effort was placed on facilitating collaboration and partnerships among nonprofits and other stakeholders to really focus in on the human development part of this endeavor. And then lastly, the neighborhood focus was to create the conditions necessary for public and private reinvestment in the Mott Haven area and offer the kinds of amenities and assets, including safety, good schools, and commercial activity. It was and remains a very important endeavor, and I'd like to just give you a quick update about where it stands currently. The Make Mott Haven planning process brought together residents, community partners, and city agencies to create a vision for this community, including improvements to the physical landscape to create a safer environment, and the expansion of educational programs, supporting young people on a path away from criminal behavior. The Housing Authority was able to identify over $200 million in resources to help implement this plan. We are disappointed that HUD did not select our Mott Haven application to move forward on the choice neighborhood process, but this decision will not deter NYCHA's continued commitment to improve the lives of our residents and the neighborhood. The dozens of partners convened in this process are still actively working to execute this multi-pronged effort here in Mott Haven. So you'll be hearing more about that going forward. And with that, I'm going to conclude my remarks in terms of development and introduce Yuka. I don't have my glasses on. Okay. Who will talk about maintenance and repairs.
Greetings. So my name was changed a little, but I'll let you know my real name. My name is Melania Allen. I'm the director for Bronx Property Management Department. And I think Yuka is somewhere around here, but Yuka will introduce herself after. So I want to speak a little about the Atman pilot. The Atman pilot started back in January of this year, and actually it was in a great effort to get resident engagement. So some of the goals of the pilot is really to get our residents our managers to collaborate with our residents, improve customer service, and look at new ways in which we could do work. In addition to the financial stability of our development, the management office. So one of the goals of the pilot is to really look at the structure and staffing level at the development, and through the course of looking at the pilot, we know that the property manager is the one responsible for the operation of the development. All staff at the development report to the manager. The manager is the direct link to the resident leader, the residents, and the community, including our skilled trade manager within the constraint of the development budget. Another step with the Atman development is the optimized resident input for best overall outcome. The manager will have regular meetings with the resident leaders and residents in order to engage the community with the needs and results at the development. The resident leader will assist in making key decisions of the development. And most important, the property manager will attend regularly the tenant association meetings. There are certain measurements that we look at when we are measuring the results and performance at the developments, and we have performance metric at each property in the Atman pilot. Procedures built in order for that property to run is in effect, and consistent level of professionalism should be maintained at all times. There's a budget set at the development. The budget is maintained from the bottom up, meaning that central office is not mandating to the manager what is the need of that development. The manager will make a decision on how he or she wants to spend the budget allocated to that development. There are certain visibilities and control over the central office cost of the development. And the budget is tailored according to each particular development in the Atman model. Just important for you to know that the budget is based on HUD allocations. So to remind you, the Atman locations are in 3 different boroughs, in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and the Bronx. The developments in the Bronx under the Atman pilot are Millbrook, Patterson, Mud Haven, Mitchell, and Melrose. In Manhattan, East River, Wilson White, Metro North, Jefferson, Wagner, and Lincoln houses. In Brooklyn, we have Howard, Tilden, Settler, Langston, Lackland Hughes, Woodson, Unity, Van Dyke, and Brownsville houses. Next. I'm going to speak a little about the eligibility selection and admission policy. Next slide. So there are proposed changes to the eligibility selection and admission policies. And we hear a lot about residents that require reasonable accommodations. NYCHA is really sensitive to the need of our residents, and we really want to accommodate those residents that are in need of our services. So in order to comply with HUD obligation to expedite tenant transfer for reasonable accommodation, NYCHA is considering assigning those tenants a higher transfer priority in TSAP. And I know that the residents that are facing those need for accommodation will welcome this change. We will be able to process the transfer in expeditious manner. Currently, the person with a disability requesting a reasonable accommodation transfer are assigned a T3 priority. The transfer priorities for reasonable accommodation range from T3 to T0. I would like to call Kim Songwood, Assistant Director for the Department of Budget and Financial Planning.
Good evening. My name is Sung-woo Kim, Deputy Director of the Budget Department, and I'd like to provide you information on NYCHA's finance. In 2015, NYCHA adopted budget a deficit of $98 million. It's comprised of revenue and expense as shown on the chart here. The revenue is composed of three major categories. As you can see, tenant rent, which is 32%, Section 8 HAP, another 32%, and the rest of it is an operating subsidy, a subsidy we receive from HUD to support housing, public housing. The expense is driven by three major categories, which are made of salary and benefit at 39%, and Section 8 HAP payment, another 30%, and utility at 18%. So next slide. So to provide you with a little bit and to give you a better perspective at the per monthly cost to operate each unit in NYCHA, chart shows how much it costs in revenue received at the unit level. As you can see, NYCHA received approximately $966 per month per unit. But our expense level is at $1,012 per unit month, which brings us to $46 per unit month to operate at a loss to each unit. Next slide, please. So where we are today, while we adopted a $98 million with initiative from Next Generation NYCHA, we are trying to implement various measures to close the gap. As you can see, we have a rent collection effort, the $5 million, a conversion of the unfunded unit at additional $2 million, and thanks to Mayor Blasio, we were able to close additional gap through a waiver of pilot program at $17 million, which brings us to where we are today at $74 million deficit. NYCHA is continuing to improve our financial condition through, and we are working to close our, implement various measures to close the gap. So that concludes our finance brief presentation. At this point, I'd like to reintroduce Ms. Anne-Marie Flatley, Vice President for Research and Management.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to talk about the changes to NYCHA's flat rent policy. Most of you in the room that are residents will not be impacted by this change, nor will most of the families within the Housing Authority. The flat rents, many of you may remember the old name for them, were the ceiling rents, which are the maximum rents for each apartment size within the agency or the developments. Up until last year, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is the federal agency that regulates NYCHA, allowed housing authorities such as New York, Yonkers, Boston to decide what we charge for our maximum rents or our flat rents. So starting in about 2006, we started increasing those rents. So if you remember, the maximum rent for a two-bedroom apartment back in 2006 used to be $495. Since then, we've been increasing the rents pretty much every single year. But how we increased the rents is that we did it by income level. So families with lower incomes, that maybe it was one person working in the household and maybe they had an income around $25,000 or $30,000, would pay less in rent than a family that had more than one person. Maybe they had two people working city jobs and they had a total income of around maybe $80,000 or even $90,000. So those families had a higher rent level. We didn't want to penalize families that were trying to become economically self-sufficient by increasing their rents too fast, too quickly. Unfortunately, that has now changed due to a change in the law. Last year in January, our Congress finally passed the budget, and it was called the 2014 Appropriations Act. It was around a 700-page document. It had all sorts of information about funding transportation, including housing, health and human services, the military, everything. Within that document was about 5 sentences that changed the rents for public housing nationwide. So there's still the income-based rent, so no one will pay more than 30% of their income for rent, but the maximum rents will be changing. We started changing these last year, and what's presented on the slide is what's going to happen next year in 2016. So what we have to do is, over the next 3 years, starting this June, is increase these rents to what's called 80% of fair market rent. So if you know anybody that's in the Section 8 program, this rent now is tied to that. So for example, for a 2-bedroom apartment, I believe the 2-bedroom apartment rent in New York for fair market rent is around a little over $1,400. Now HUD is saying, NYCHA, 80% of that amount is $1,185, $1,185. So that has to be our new level for a maximum rent. So we had a significant amendment earlier this year. We came up to the Bronx, as we did to all the boroughs, to talk about it. The rents that are on the screen will go into effect next June. So when you have if you have an annual review in June 2016 going forward, this is what the maximum rent level will be. But it's only if you have a certain income level. So I'm just going to read off the income levels by bedroom size. So if you're in a studio apartment, your income has to be, I can't read with my eyeglasses, your income has to be at least $25,600. If your income is below that, you won't be impacted by this. In a 1-bedroom, your income has to be at least $26,760. For a 2-bedroom, $31,680. Most of the apartments within the Housing Authority, at least 50%, most of you live in a 2-bedroom apartment. If your income is below that $31,680, you'll continue to pay the income-based rent, or 30% of your income. For a 3-bedroom, the income level is $40,760. For a 4-bedroom apartment, $45,680. 5-bedroom, $52,480. And for a 6-bedroom, $59,360. So outside, we have very detailed rent tables, which shows by family size and bedroom size and income level what your rent may be. And if your income is below what's listed on the sheet, as I said before, you will not be impacted. I know these are kind of sensitive questions that you may have, depending on what your income is and your family situation. I'll be here after the meeting ends to answer your questions directly. And I'll also take questions from the audience, too, after the presentations are over. And I did want to say, I meant to say this earlier, that the presentations that you're looking at on the screen, they're available outside on the tables. We have them in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Russian, and they're also available on NYCHA's website. So if you know people that wanted to attend this meeting and weren't able to, please feel free to take copies of all the material. We also have copies of the draft annual plan, as well as the amendment available for pickup. So at this point, I would like to turn it over to Martha Brazaban to talk about our capital projects.
Good evening. My name is Martha Brazaban. I'm the director for the Local Law 11 unit in capital projects, and I'm here to discuss the capital plan. As you can see in the slide, the capital, well, let me back up one minute. Right now, within the 5-year plan, we have approximately $811 million that we'll be receiving that's projected from the federal government. It comes out to about $162 million approximately per year. What you see in the slide, it's the different categories for the, for the capital funds for the next 5 years. So the biggest, wait 1 second, the biggest piece is $375 million, which is for bricks, roofs, and windows, the exterior of the buildings. The next one is the comprehensive projects. The Bombi leverage the heating system, including boilers, fire alarms, other projects that are planned, and then the physical needs assessment and the frontline costs associated with the capital plan. The next slide is basically the other types of capital funding that we received, which is city capital funds, which fund small projects, and there's about $100 million in those projects that we get funded through city council and other legal representatives. We also have under the Sandy recovery where we receive money, insurance money, FEMA monies, and CDBG funds, and that's projected to be about approximately $3 billion. The other categories are major action plan, which is the anti-violence campaign that the mayor has put together, and that brings in about $35 million for exterior lighting at specific developments. And then there's the security improvements at the high crime locations, which has an $100 million allocation. I will also be here after the meeting if there's any questions in regards to our capital plan. Thank you.
Good evening again. Ms. Flatley, I'm going to repeat something she said. Again, just a reminder, the presentation, the annual plan, and any of the documents that you see here today are available in the lobby area outside of the auditorium in multiple languages, available for you to take with you and share with anyone, NYCHA residents or otherwise any interested parties. So we're going to go to the comments and questions section of the evening. Again, we hope that everyone who wants to give comments can. We want you to give everyone an opportunity to express their comments. Before we begin, we're going to go over the ground rules. I show you again a sample of a speaker slip. You're required to fill one out if you are interested in providing comments. They are available in the lobby outside of the auditorium at the resource table. And we will start with the speakers now. House rules. When you begin to speak, the green light will be on the end of the table marked speaker sign-in. Please line up at the microphones at the center of the aisles and wait your turn to speak. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak. On the stage, you'll see a timer with 3 lights. When you begin to speak, the green light will be on the end and the timer will begin to count down. When the yellow light is lit, it means you should start to conclude your remarks. When the red light is turned on, your 3 minutes to provide comments are over. Again, a table has been set out outside so that written comments may also be submitted. The speaker slips are numbered and are non-transferable. The speaker slips are numbered and are non-transferable. If you are not present or do not wish to speak when your name and number is called, you will forfeit the opportunity to speak. As a reminder to all of us, the town hall meeting is being recorded and is transcribed by a stenographer, so please speak only from the microphones in the aisles. Identify yourself, your development, and your affiliation. Remember that we are here to comment on NYCHA's fiscal year 2015 annual draft annual plan. Any personal comments on, criticisms of, or oral attacks on NYCHA personnel, resident representatives, and public attendees, or any demeaning, discriminatory, or ethnic slurs, or vulgar language will not be tolerated. I, as the moderator of this evening's meeting, reserve the right to immediately move on to the next speaker online if any comments are deemed inappropriate. As the moderator on stage, I'm in charge of the town hall, so I'm asking us all to please be considerate of our neighbors and obey the directions. We are here to consider issues that are of concern to everyone, not issues that concern only a single resident or individual. So again, if you have an issue that concerns only you or your apartment, we have tables set up outside specifically for that purpose. You may fill out a resident response form at the table outside marked resident complaints. We also have general information tables available outside where leaflets and flyers may be displayed. Resource tables, again, have been set up outside with the information so that at the end of the town hall, you can pick up the information on services which may be of interest to you. Are we all clear on the rules? We're going to be well behaved this evening. With that, I would like to start with speaker number 1, Thomasina McFall.
I'm Thomasina My name is Thomasina McFall. I'm from Polo Grounds, Polo Ground Tower. Okay. Okay. My question is, you talk about the next generation, but you're not, I don't think you're prepared for the next generation. But what I'm trying to say, that we are not getting the development fixed up like they should be for the next generation, and when they come and do the work, they don't do it properly, and you know. So what is we supposed to do as seniors in the next generation? You gonna move us out to another development or what? Did you understand the question?
I understand the question.
So what about it? Because we are not, you know, my concern is that the polo ground is not, you know, it's not set and ready to grow because we are not educating the people, the young people and the young generation.
Right. So we're going to stick to the first piece of your comment, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Brian Clark. I think he has a response.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Clark. I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations for Property Management. And definitely, you know, our senior citizens are definitely part of the next, you know, generation plan. Some of the challenges you talked about are, you know, our buildings not being kept up, you know, the way they should be. And that's why we need a next generation plan. You know, the average age of our buildings is, you know, in the mid-40s, you know, 45, 46 years old. And we have, you know, over, you know, $10 billion in unmet, you know, capital needs. So we definitely need a plan for that, for the short term as well as the long term. You know, regarding the, you know, the maintenance, you know, at the developments. So the things that we're doing to, you know, to improve that is we've started a program. It's actually at our OPMOM sites, but we're going to be expanding it out, you know, to all of our developments and should be up and operating, you know, in the first quarter. And what we're doing is during the apartment inspections that we do, we're actually going to be making repairs now. It's the way we did it many years ago. We have now we're able to use handheld devices, and we think it was something that worked back, you know, 15 years ago, and we're going back to it so that when we do the inspection, we're actually going to be making, you know, simple repairs that maintenance workers can do within your apartment unit. We're still going to have to schedule the skilled trade work. Also, with our, and I don't know if you've heard about our Fix It Forward, you know, campaign. It's all part of our next generation. You know, we call it real-time repairs during inspection. That's what I just spoke about. But also, we have what we're calling One Call. And what this is, it's a program. Right now, what you experience is we plan out, you know, work orders, right? So a repair may take multiple work orders. And what we do is we do it, you know, one at a time in sequential order, scheduling it out. So we send a maintenance worker. If there's additional work that needs to be done, take that work order back. You have to call the CCC, and you have to schedule another appointment. And then we have another skilled trade come out, and then you have to schedule another appointment. And so a repair can actually take, you know, many months to complete. And, you know, we recognize that, and, you know, we want to do better, and we will do better. And what the One Call, you know, program is we're looking at, planning out the repair up front. So we're going to send the maintenance worker, and we're going to realize, okay, we got to do a wall break, so we're going to need a plumber, we're going to need a plasterer, we're going to need a painter, and we're going to schedule that work with you up front. So you're actually going to know the dates, ahead of time when we're going to come out there. Right now, initially, some of those dates may be spread out, a little bit, but ultimately we're going to have that concentrated in, and where we want to get to is that, Tuesday the plumber is making the repair, Wednesday we're there with the, the plasterer, and probably Thursday finishing up plastering, and then Friday we're painting. So that's where we want to go. The other thing is as our buildings grow older, also our tenants are growing older, and we know that I certainly know that as I'm aging, I have more needs, and we certainly know that our residents have more needs. But we know that we can't, deliver services the same way we have in the past because, frankly, we don't have the resources. But what we can do, what the city has resources, and what we want to do is work with the different city agencies as well as with, community-based organizations and nonprofit groups to leverage the services that they provide by connecting our tenants to those services. And that's all part of the Next Gen plan, and I really encourage all of our tenants and any other stakeholders that are here to, to please, get involved. We have a resident engagement table, out front. You can register to be part of a focus group, but at the very least, go online. The plan's available there. Read it, become familiar with it. Sign up, Facebook, stay connected on our website. To see, because we're going to be reporting out as we progress with the plan. Okay?
Okay. For the next generation, you should let people invest in shares. Maybe they'll treat the building better. You understand?
Thank you. Speaker number 2, Robert Hall.
Mr. Hall.
Good evening, all. I'm going to try to, I just found out I got a Yankee ticket, so I won't be here for a minute. But that being said, number one, I live in a development, Gun Hill Houses. I repeat, Gun Hill Houses. I am not Parkside Consolidated. The problem is, and this is with our now generation, not the new one, I've been consolidated with another development that is probably 8.5 blocks away from where we actually reside. It's a problem. You are destroying my senior population. Actually, you're destroying myself. It's too far. I need to be deconsolidated. I would love to have a PowerPoint presentation, Mr. Clark, before you to show you why it is advantageous for Gun Hill and Parkside to deconsolidate, along with the fact that I noticed with your Opmon situation, there are no developments in the Northeast Bronx that has qualified for your Opmon. And I don't know if, in fact, that's the situation for Gun Hill or Parkside, but that being said, this needs to be looked at before we can discuss the next generation. Since the next generation deals with building from the bottom up, and you have the intentions of being an effective landlord, I hope you please take this into consideration, all right? It's a constructive criticism. That being said, I also want to get the point across. You have a very difficult task in trying to get work done in a lot of these housing developments that are aging. However, having the lowest bidder doing work is at your disadvantage, and what this does is multiply the problem, and you need to look into that in order to be more effective with your economic shortfall. And after that, I'm going to let you comment, Mr. Grant, and after that, I'm out of here. I got to go to the ball game.
First off, go Yankees. I'm not going to keep you too long because I think it's game's just getting started, right? But anyhow, so you bring up the consolidation, and that's an excellent point. So for folks that don't know what a consolidation is is, back when when the financial crisis was just starting and hitting us, we're looking at different ways of trying to, save, funding. And so one of the ideas that was put on the table was to consolidate developments that are relatively close together. And what that meant is really having one management office manage the two properties. And really the intent behind that was to save money. And really that has had questionable results. Overall, we're taking a very close look at that. And in fact, as part of Next Generation and of our OPMOM project, our optimal property management operating model, we actually have 3 consolidations that were deconsolidated as part of it, and that's one of the things that we're measuring there. Because we are going to have to invest in those properties with additional staff, but if we get the return on the overall performance at those developments, then it's something that may be able to pay for itself. So in Brooklyn, Tilden, and Howard were consolidated, and we deconsolidated them. In Manhattan, it was East River, Wilson, White, and Metro North, and then I think it was Woodson, Langston Hughes, that were deconsolidated. So we agree that the consolidations are present a certain challenge to us from an operating standpoint, and certainly from the folks that live at the development where there isn't a management office presence. So we're gonna measure that, and that's why we need really everybody's support for our Next Generation plan. And if we get the funding, we can support deconsolidating some of these developments, such as certainly Gun Hill and Parkside. And then just the question of how did we select the OPMOM properties, and that was really a random selection and based upon geographical grouping, really. And if you look at the properties that were selected, some of them are very challenging from a maintenance standpoint. And so far, the results, the preliminary indications are we got some really good performance at some of these developments. So, for example, the overall service level average for maintenance for the Housing Authority is close to 13 days. It's 12 it's 12 and change. At 11 of the 18 OPMOM properties, it is well below 7. So we got some we have some good things going on there. It's early in its stages, but we're seeing some positive results. So that's why you really want to stay connected to the plan. Please get involved, and keep a lookout for periodic and regular updates on on OPMOM. Okay, and now go to your game, Mr. Hall. All right.
Thank you, Speaker number 2. Speaker number 3, Aisha Moore.
It's so funny because my name is Aisha Moore. I reside at East River Houses, and he answered my question, but I just wanted to know more in detail about the OPMOM programs and how was it, I guess, implemented. I mean, my particular development I just need more questions for it, or even make more suggestions for it, especially East River Houses. So, would you mind? Yes.
Okay. A quick statement. So, East River is one of those developments that was deconsolidated, and definitely a challenging property. You live there, and there are many needs at at that development, and as part of the overall OPMOM project is to really engage the residents, and it's really working with the tenant association leadership on that. So what I'll do is afterwards I'll sit down and talk to you a little bit, because what I want to learn is really what kind of information are you getting at at your development, and it seems like it's very limited. So it looks like it's something that we're really going to have to we're going to really have to work on and improve, because that's all part of it, because who better to know really the problems and the issues and the priorities at a development than the folks that that live there.
Okay. Definitely looks forward to speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker number 3. Speaker number 4, Gilder Husbands. Can you come? Is the microphone on? There you go.
Hello. Oh, good evening. My name is Gilda Husbands, and I live in Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln Houses. Did you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello. My name is Gilda Husbands. I'm from Abraham Lincoln Houses. As you were saying, it was a young lady up here, and she said I could speak with her on a one-to-one basis. I wanted to know more information about the flat rent, okay? And also, it was another young lady up here talking about the capital program. I would like to speak with her also. But I want to ask in general, will they have some type of weekend or evening repairs for people? Because I work every day, so I'm not home during the day, and it's hard for me to take off to schedule a repair during the day. So I think that should be an option for working people, considering the rents that they're asking for, okay? And also, I also inquired about the ACMA program with my manager, Ms. Shoulders, and she didn't have no answers for me. I wasn't satisfied with her answers. And also, I want to know what part of the money that's the capital plan is going into Abraham Lincoln Houses, and is it possible for me to see something in writing? I believe the tenants should be able to see something, to see exactly how much funds is going into it. Because like I said, I go to the tenant association meetings, but I'm not getting no information from the manager, okay? Because she's sitting up there, and the superintendent and everybody at the meeting, they can't answer me. You know, that's why I came here tonight. Also, I'm hoarse. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, it's okay.
And I also wanted to know about the summer workers. They promoted that they had applications for summer helpers to help the maintenance workers and the people around the grounds. And I want to know, did that take place? Is that taking place in Abraham Lincoln Houses?
So so I'm clear on that question.
Okay.
There are two programs, and you may be talking about both. There's a summer youth employment program,
Okay.
and there's a summer seasonal program. Which
Okay.
program are you talking about, or are you talking about both?
As long as they helping to clean up and
Okay.
do repairs.
Understood.
Either,
All right.
Either
Thank you.
or, okay.
Hi, ma'am. So first off, I'll start off with the seasonal program. So we were able to bring that back it's actually, unfortunately, because of financial, concerns, we had to stop the, project a few years ago. We were able to be creative and argued for funding to support it. So we were able to hire, 439 residents to help with the seasonal program, and that's to work on the grounds and help us with our overall janitorial conditions. Lincoln Houses is absolutely included in there. I don't deal with the exact number of seasonals that are going to be hired there, but they actually should be starting. We actually started the program, maybe like a month late, but we're going to extend it on the other end. So we're excited about the program. We think it's a shot in the arm and going to help us at the development. Regarding, flexible hours for appointments and maintenance. So that, once again, that's a financial concern because the rates that we pay on Saturdays and Sundays are premium rates. So it's not straight time. It's actually, based on, collective bargaining. There's higher rates, and so that goes into, funding, challenges, for the agency, as well as, shifts into the evening hours. We're trying to be creative. We're trying to work with folks, but right now I can't stand up here and say that we're going to be moving forward in doing that. But I know that that's an area that we're looking at, and if we are able to do it, I'm sure you'll be one of the first people to know. And then the last one is regarding, OPMOM. So, Kathy Shoulders is your manager at, Lincoln Houses. And so I'm going to have a first stop over there to talk a little bit about OPMOM to the young lady. I don't know where she went to. Oh, there she is. And then I'll stop and talk to you a little bit, okay? Afterwards.
Okay.
Thanks.
What's the name? For the OPMOD program?
Oh, what's the name for the OPMOM? So OPMOM is the optimal...
No, the person that I have to speak with, you.
Me?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So let me just finish with questions, and then I'm up there, and then I'm over there, okay?
Do we have them to speak? Okay. Thank you, speaker number 4. I'm going to try to get this right. Speaker number 5, Charlene Barker. Did I get that right? Okay, Ms. Barker.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I live in Polo Grounds residence, and I would like to focus on bringing programs inside the residence, like inside, you know, the development, like as in stands and aids and services to help them, because I mean, lately I've seen flyers in the hallways and stuff like that, but a lot of people don't read, so it makes it difficult for many. Sorry, I'm kind of nervous. Let me just. Whew, okay. It makes it difficult for many youths to reach out and communicate. Many youths would like to change their life to a successful one, and in a way, it makes it a bit depressing for myself because it's like I'm setting the example, and I'm the only person. I think I would be the #1 supporter. Like, I would actually stand outside with you guys and help. I'll do whatever it takes just to better the future, just to improve the environment. I guess the focus group is a bit similar, but I think we need to look deeper within the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barker, I'm actually going to speak to you after the meeting. I'd like to get some more information from you. So we'll talk, all right? Don't leave me, okay? Speaker number 5, thank you. That is our last speaker for the night. Do we have any more speaker slips? That's it. With that, I would like to thank everyone for coming out to NYCHA's annual plan, FY16, and the significant amendment to the draft annual plan 2015 for the Bronx. Would just like to remind everyone there is one more event, Tuesday, August 11th, 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Pace University, the Michael Schimmel Theater. That's 3 Spruce Street near Gold Street, New York, 10038. That will be the citywide public comment on the annual plan. That will be the citywide public hearing for the comments on the annual plan. Mondays is in Manhattan. So I'm going to tell you what Manhattan's date is because it's coming up. And Monday, July 27th, the annual plan for Manhattan is at the Borough of Manhattan Community College. That is 199 Chambers Street. With that, again, thank you for coming out. Thank you for your interest and your comments in the annual plan. Please get home safe and enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Excellent. So, let's go through the